to get some sort of an idea of what my new project is all about. I don't know in advance what I'm going to do. I just see what I'm doing in the moment, and from that I get an inkling of where I'm heading. And it seems what I'm doing is I'm starting to create a series of documentaries, if you like, of how I see photography and how I approach it, and what I learned in my life from taking photographs continuously for the best part of 50 years. And in 1995 I was probably the first adopter of digital photography in the area that we're in. I actually had a computer store, and we were right on, as soon as the first digital cameras came out, we were right on to stocking them and putting them in the shop, and nobody was interested. Couldn't understand it, and of course the resolution wasn't quite what it was up to, but you could take pictures and get an instant result and see them on the screen of your computer. And so I had a Kodak DC something or other, digital camera, I think the DC stands for, the earlier ones, and then finally I managed to get a DC 4800, which was a very expensive camera. Cost about £1,000 in its day. Yet later on, as digital photography progressed, people were interested in these old I think it was a 2 megapixel, possibly a 3 megapixel camera. People were interested in these kind of cameras, and so I managed to pick one up for £5. And this became my go-to camera for many years. In fact, I ended up going through 3 of these cameras and had a very, very successful time with this camera doing photojournalism. It was like a little Leica, and you could hold this camera steady in the hand. It had some kind of basic simple shutter inside, probably a leaf shutter, and or no shutter at all, I don't know, they can do that. And so I had a lot of experience with this camera, took thousands upon thousands of photographs. And so because digital photography is instant result, you can learn a lot faster in digital photography than you can with conventional film photography, because you can't take as many images, you don't get an instant result, you can't experiment quite as much with exposure and so on, and with processing in the light room or dark room equivalent. And so there's many things to learn in photography, and it's probably an unlimited field of learning. That you can never learn so much that you've learned everything about photography. And so this is the first of a series of lessons, really, which I want to give, starting at the beginning of the approach to photography in seeing and composition, and what to look for, how I approach what I photograph, how I choose what I photograph, from the unlimited potential of what is around me, and how those pictures become final works of art, I suppose. And so far in my life, after 50 years of photography, and I haven't done anything with my final results, I just simply put them in a box, and that's it, really. Every now and again I might bring the box out every 20 years and have a look through it. And it's the same with my artwork. I also have done artwork, and I've combined artwork, painting and line drawing and line painting together with the photography. I've mixed the two mediums together and incorporated my photographs into my artwork, and my artwork into my photographs, and my photographs of my artwork into my photographs. And so it's been quite an interesting journey. And I've studied, probably more than anything, I've studied the still life. And generally it's the found still life, yet often it's my partner, my lady, who creates these with her hands without even knowing that she's actually creating a still life. And then I notice what she's done with her hands, and then I photograph that. And that's been, the best of my photographs have been that. It's been really a teamwork without the other party, without either party knowing that the other party is even doing anything. And all of the great photographers will tell you that their photographs, their best photographs, are based on accidents, really. And so if you take enough photographs, you will find amongst them some accidents. Now, they say that these are accidents, yet I say that these accidents can be viewed not as accidents, but as moments in time that were meant to be, that you were meant to photograph. And it's no accident at all, because there's a space-time is a continuum. And so just like the world then and the world now both exist in the space-time continuum, they always did exist and they always will exist, and what's about to happen already happened, if you like, if you see that time is and space is a continuum. It has to be like that. And so this is the basis, if you like, of justice in the world, yet that's another subject, probably a bit deep for this video. I just simply mentioned it in passing. Now, what I did this morning, how I knew I was going to make this training videos, if I could, teaching videos, was that I went out this morning, I wasn't intending to photograph, I thought in my mind, should I take a camera? And it came to me, no, I won't take a camera. Then I had sent a few messages to my lady in Germany, and so, should I take a phone? Yeah, I'll put the phone in my pocket. So I put the phone in my pocket, and I went for a wander down the road, and I found myself taking photographs with my iPhone SE, that's the first edition. I'll just get that camera because this is a really, really great camera. I don't know how many thousands of pictures I've taken on this camera. And I did a whole hundreds of final works of Herefordshire, documentary of Herefordshire, using this camera. And what a wonderful camera this is. It takes beautiful pictures, and the advantages of an iPhone is it's got a very small sensor in it, and so you have an unlimited depth of field. And so for candid photographs where you're taking things in the street, you don't need to worry about things being in or out of focus. Everything's in focus, and it also doesn't suffer from camera shake in the same way because it's got a wide angle lens. You can hold this camera down to very, very low light situations and get a good result. And if you're photographing candid photography, street photography, this kind of thing, then this is the ideal camera. The other thing is with this camera, you can point it straight at people, and you know they think that you're taking a selfie or something like that. You know, I mean, it's wonderful. And so you can just like be some kind of idiot and just, if you just not even care about who's in the photo, who's in the picture, and just ignore that and just, you know, just like act like you're photographing the buildings or something, and people just ignore you because they don't know whether you take a picture, whether you're taking a selfie or what you're doing, do they? You know, so the iPhone is the best candid camera to use for candid type photography. And that's probably why I took it with me this morning, because I haven't used it for, well, I do use it. I use it for taking just pictures of I use it to document my photography. So I take pictures of what I'm doing for my own, to document my work rather than final results. Although there are many final results in the camera. If you want something which is going to print big and with the great detail, and that you want to blow the picture up and really look at the quality of the image, you might be a bit disappointed if you blow up the iPhone pictures, because they can go a bit wonky on you. And if you do this for a while and you keep blowing them up and look at them, you will actually be attracted to using this kind of camera for shots where it's possible to use it. Now, when I went out today, as I walked out of the door, I noticed that the day was unusually interesting light. And you can probably see it as you're watching this video. You see the light is coming across the table here and creating sunlight and shadow, and as it comes through the window, so if the clouds are strong, it filters it out, makes it more gentle, and then as the clouds part a little bit, so it comes through a little bit stronger. And there are certain moments where it's absolutely exquisite, and what you're photographing is the light. It's not actually the objects in the room that you're photographing. A black object can be white, and a white object can be black, depending on how the light falls on it. So it's important to look at what we have in our picture and see the light and the dark and how it's balanced one against the other. Now, when I went out, I didn't look for photographs. I used to do this when I was a young man. I used to go out on the hunt, like a big game hunter, looking to shoot photographs. And I would be lining things up and taking that object and thinking and putting the camera to my eyes and, oh no, that won't work or anything. I don't do that anymore. When I raise the camera to take a picture always gets taken. It's because I don't actually try to take the photo. I wait until the photo draws me in so strongly that I can't help myself. I have to photograph it. And at that moment, that's called the decisive moment. The decisive moment is when you decide that you're going to take a photo, come what may, you're going to hit that button somehow. And when you actually approach that photograph, at that moment in time, you don't actually know exactly what you're going to frame. You haven't really got there. What you've done is you've walked to a certain position relative to the objects in the street or in the room or wherever you are. And you've decided, you've been called to take that picture. You haven't thought, I want to take a picture. You just said, I have to take a picture. And so the camera's come up and now you're looking at, I'll get this thing working, oh yeah, okay. So now you're looking at the viewfinder and you're seeing a picture in the viewfinder. Now, the way that this kind of viewfinder allows you to compose is just like they used to have on the 4x5 or 8x10 view cameras. It's a great, except in their case it was upside down and reversed, whereas this is all the right way up, and it's, you know, if they had this technology then this is what they would use. It's so great to compose. Now, when you actually move the camera into the composition and move it around, you'll see that the camera wants to stop in a certain way, and then you'll notice, if you cast your eye around the frame, you'll notice the edges of the frame. And this is how you decide, first of all, whether what you've framed is actually workable. There may be parts of the image may not be acceptable. I'm going to take a picture of what I'm holding now. And I haven't got my glasses on, so I cannot see exactly what's in the image. But I'm going to put it on the screen and then I'm going to discuss it with you. Okay, so now I loaded the pictures onto my computer from the iPhone using a USB cable. Just plug it in and drag and drop the pictures across. That's the easiest way of getting them onto the computer. And you need them on the computer to really see them properly. Now, I'll just go here to the first picture I took. And I was walking down the road and I was approaching this MOT place and I saw the flag. The flag was actually wafting in the breeze when I saw it. I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I liked the kind of dull winter day look of the place, had certain character. And the MOT sign and the MOT van and the MOT repeated a number of times with the arrows. This attracted my attention too. And so I raised the camera up without further ado and I saw the lady coming up the street and I thought, well, that's fine. I don't want to to overpower the picture, so I'll just wait till she's about the right size and I'll hit the button. And so I just hit the button really, and that's what I got. Okay. Now, what can we say about this picture? It's kind of perfect really. There's a certain balance to it. This MO in the corner here, that's like links with the mother walking down the street. MO is like mother, so the fact that it chopped off the T is actually works in this case with this lady walking up the street. And she's also engrossed, I think, looks like with a phone, and so you know there's a repetition of the photographer's taking a picture while she's looking at the phone, maybe also looking at a picture or something like that. Now you'll also see that there's a van over here in the middle of the picture, and there's also a van travelling down the street further. And so that repetition of form there works quite well, and then the road curves around, disappears into the corner. So it's quite satisfying to look down the street and see, and those collections of vans and cars down the bottom look very interesting. And the way the objects are grouped together, there's two cars over here on the left-hand side, and you've got the weathercock on the top of the house, and you've got then the full justification has been given to the telephone pole, or the power pole, whatever it is there, and you can see all the power lines radiating out into the sky. And so nothing's been left out, everything's been included, and I think it captures that moment. So I'm happy with the first picture. Now there's a more in the universe, as in the beginning, so in the end. So we'll have a look at the last picture we get. So now we carry on walking down the street, and we'll see what the next picture I take is. Okay, so I didn't get very far, because now, as I'd taken that picture that I saw, it only took me an instant to take the other picture. I just looked and saw, grabbed the camera and shot the picture. Then I got a bit closer because I wanted to examine this area of this van and the flag and so on. And so you'll see I took this picture. This was the first picture I took. I'm trying to find out how to frame, how to get everything I need into frame. So first of all, I see, okay, we've got the van in, but we're chopping off the telegraph pole here, and so we'll try to improve that. And the other thing we're looking at is we're looking at the verticals here to try and get everything aligned vertically, so there's no tapering verticals in the picture. So that's one of the, and also we don't want to be chopping. We've got to carefully watch the edges of the frame, that we don't net anything into the frame that's going to disturb the edges, and that we cut it in the right place. And so we move on, and we're cutting the pole, the wires. It's not working properly there. So now you'll see, now I've adjusted it. Okay, so we've now got the pole is in, and we're trying to work with the building here, but now the building is slightly, the verticals aren't aligned anymore, and the van, the front of the van is getting chopped off here. Let's carry on. Now the next shot, this is getting closer, but now you see we've introduced this tiny bit of the window here on the right hand side, and that's no good, and all the time we're working with the flag is changing, you know? And so we're trying to get the good flag too. So the next picture is a bit of a success really, because we've managed to keep everything more or less vertical. We've got all of the power pole and the lines running well. We've got the window on the right hand side sorted out. Everything is given full justification for being in the picture. The van isn't chopped off too close. The line running along the road here is okay. This one seems to be okay. Let's carry on and see what else we've got. Now we've got one where everything seems to be okay. The only difference is the flag. So we've got one here with the flag now flying perfectly, and also I'll just carry on. There's one more, I think. Yeah, the one more. I got one more where the flag is. You can see the flag is folded, and so it's also very tight. This one, very, very tight. And so these are the last two pictures, and all I would say, the main difference between these two is this one's tilted slightly. You can see the bottom of the road here is tilting out a little bit. And so I would say we go back one. That's the last one, is overdevelopment. This is the final shot with the flag perfectly flying beautifully. And if we actually have a look at the detail of this thing, we'll see that we have an interesting photograph where we've got a tattered England. The flag is actually quite tattered, and the building, the state of the building, the windows and the state of everything, it's so poverty, there's so much poverty in it, and like it's only just holding together, this MOT servicing. You can see there's, looks like a bit of rust on the bottom of the car here, and you know, it's only just hanging together, which is what, as I say, you can see here on the wall, it's rather nice on the wall here, and it's picked out quite nice, the light has picked out everything quite nicely. The detail of the picture is quite nice. So I'm happy with that one. Let's move on. Well, I decided that the lesson was getting a bit long, so I'm going to continue as lesson 2. It all happened on the same day and continuously, but it's a long video, so I'll split it into 2 lessons and continue editing it and give you the next lesson when it's finished. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy my new series. I didn't know I was going to start this series, and now I'm quite happy that I'm doing this series. It's called The Art of Photography, and it's a series of lessons. Well, I learned, that's all. Okay, see you next time.